Hey everyone, this is Jay, and today we're going to be dealing with the class Western civilization, and we're going to be dealing with the fall of the Roman Republic. Now, anyway, the way to gain power and prestige in Rome was through war. And so the biggest issue Rome faced was they were very successful at war. And this is going to make them want to do it more. And also, the way they gained political power was through the use of military force. So, it is going to be in the best interest of elite Romans to be fighting and to be able to gain more power. Now, Rome had been established as a nation of laws, not of men, but there is a huge problem. Their problem is they don't write down their laws. And so everything is done through something called mos maiorum, which means customs of the elder. Essentially, this is precedent. So we have this idea even in America. One of the issues we had President George Washington famously said, no man should be president more than 2 terms. And this was the case up until the two Roosevelts. Teddy tried to run for a third term but was defeated, but FDR actually ran for third and the fourth terms. And as a result, we actually created the constitutional amendment limiting presidents to 2 terms. Well, we had a written way to deal with this, the Romans did not. Now, the Romans had acquired so much territory and land, and it makes sense when you think about it. The Romans had always been highly militaristic, and it had been true during the monarchy, and it's going to be especially true during the Republic. And we talked about the origins, where the rape of the Sabine women, and they start out in military conflict, and that's the way they're going to really kind of focus their aims. Now, over the next few centuries, the Romans are going to conquer Italy. Now, these guys are, again, more militaristic than even some of their contemporaries, and there's a reason for this. The Romans actually are going to get paid every time they win wars. The Roman people paid zero taxes, but they would get spoils. So, for instance, if the state of Georgia decided to go to war with Alabama, people would be like, no, let's not do that because, Alabama's our neighbor. Well, if you told the people of Georgia that, hey, you'll get to take everything that the Alabama people have, and then you're going to be able to take that and as a percentage of what they have and make it your own, there are going to be a lot of people that are being geared up and say, you know what, let's do it. Let's go to war. And they're going to gain money. And so why not? Why would you not go to war? And this is what the Romans are going to do. And they're going to take over all of Italy. They run into their two biggest foes. And as we talked about earlier, one of the reasons that the Romans were so successful at being a militaristic and really just a world power in general was the fact that they were on this broad flat plain, Latium, which they had to protect from people who wanted to take their stuff, whom were many. So this allows them to become great at engineering and also fighting. Now, they're going to take over the Etruscans, Umbrians, and then, of course, they're going to run into their two biggest enemies at the time, who will be the Greeks and the Gauls. Now, they're going to basically take out the Greeks, and then they're going to, well, hold off on the Gauls. The Gauls are going to be an issue for later because someone right now who's just as big and powerful as bad as the Romans, and that is the Carthaginians. And they're in North Africa and Spain, and these guys are masters on the sea. The Romans are best on land, the Carthaginians masters of the sea and trade. These guys are going to go to war. The First Punic War is the Romans are going to win after quite a while, but the more important war is going to be the Second Punic War because of a famous general by the name of Hannibal. And Hannibal is going to do something to the Romans that really hadn't been done before. He is going to really just destroy their troops in multiple battles to the point where the Romans were really afraid to engage him anymore. And the Romans had armies defeated before, but they'd always sent more and more and more. Well, with Hannibal, he made them think twice. At Cannae, wipes out about 70,000 men, and Trasimene and Trebia are also battles where there'll be about 9 to 10 times the casualty rates, losing 4,000 in exchange for 30,000, 32,000. The other one about 5,000 to 40. Now, these guys have gotten into battle, and the Romans finally come up with a way to defeat Hannibal. You defeat Hannibal by not fighting him. And they're going to go and attack, actually, Carthage. And by doing so, you're going to have Hannibal have to try to defend, but he's not able to. And as a result, Rome is now master of the Mediterranean. They've got control of everything from Turkey and parts of the Middle East through Northern Africa, all the way to Spain, and the area of France and Gaul is sort of under their control, but there are going to be some problems in that. Now, there is a big problem with them having control over all this territory. Essentially, they're going to run out of people to fight that have anything. And so, when there's no outward enemy, they're going to start turning amongst themselves. And this is really true after the fall of the Carthaginians. Now, the Romans are going to engage in the civil wars. There are 3 of them, and I like to think of them as Star Wars. You got Marius versus Sulla, Caesar versus Pompey, and Octavian versus Antony. There are 3 different times, but they're all essentially dealing with the same things. All right, and basically just, hey, we need a break, and then we'll come back, and then we're going to bring about the Republic. Now, how does this whole thing get started? Well, as we talked about before, the Romans were highly militaristic, and of course, all their victories, and they're getting more and more money. But there's a problem. After they've defeated the Carthaginians, there's very little money left. Now, there are these guys called the Gracchi brothers, and they want to reform the Roman system of giving land and dealing with soldiers. Now, and they also want to expand voter rolls. Well, the Romans have a problem, and their problem is this latifundia system. Now, what's going on is that these large corporate farms are really controlling everything. Essentially, what's happening is the same thing that happened in America with the rise of Walmart and also with Amazon. They've been putting small business out of business. And this has been happening because in Roman times, you would have these soldiers who had been farmers, but they come back home and they're no longer able to compete price-wise because, if you have a small farm and you've got, 5 or 6 chickens you can sell, or, however many dozens of eggs, you can't compete with the thousands of eggs that the latifundias can sell. And so see bigger problems with not being able to having enough funding, and you've got trained, violent, angry men who have no jobs, no money, and feel like they've been betrayed by their nation, and so they turn to their. Cincinnatus sets the model for what a Roman should do. He was the dictator, and dictator was a post that was given for 6 months, and it was absolute power for those 6 months and 6 months only. And he is actually going to give up power a few weeks before his term is set to expire, and setting the precedent, the modus maiorum, in which others should follow. Very similar idea to the way that George Washington chose not to run for a 3rd term after winning the presidency twice. So we're going to see these two men that are going to do the exact opposite, Marius and Sulla. Now, I used the idea about Star Wars before, and that's really what's kind of happening. These wars are all the same. Marius versus Sulla, Caesar versus Pompey, and Mark Antony versus Octavian. And they actually have the familial connection as well because Marius is the uncle of Julius, who is the uncle of Octavian. Now, why are they taking power? Well, Marius is going to become consul, and this is that Roman president post once every 10 years. And he actually is going to become consul 7 times, 5 times in a row. And essentially, he's going to argue it's because Rome, we've got a situation. You need me. I'm here. Let's take care of business because they're fighting the Numidians and the Cimbrians and the Teutones, among others. And so he is going to take control. And this is the same exact argument that FDR will use to break Washington's idea of mos maiorum, with the no president being more than twice. So it takes the same action as Marius did. Now, Sulla is going to be an enemy of Marius, and it's really weird too because Sulla is actually the son-in-law of Marius. But Sulla is going to be the dictator, and his post, again, it's supposed to be 6 months. He's actually going to take over for 2 years. Now, how do we get to this situation? Well, these men are going to be wildly ambitious, and they're going to establish themselves as the center of Roman power, not the Senate. Now, technically, we've got Sulla, who is actually working for the Senate, but the fact that he takes power for 4 times as long as you're supposed to doesn't actually give power to those people. Now, let's talk about why this was occurring. So the Republic versus democracy is a big idea. And basically what was happening was you've got Sulla, who is working for the Senate, and the best men be very similar to the founding fathers, who did not trust the mob, did not trust the people. And so this is why you have the creation of the Electoral College. This is also why there was no direct election of United States senators, is because of this fear of the common man making mistakes, because they can be controlled through emotion rather than reason and logic. And Marius is going to take the opposite and say that the common man should be the one making the rules and establishing where we go. And Andrew Jackson is going to take the same ideas that Marius argued 2,000 years later, and he's going to be really upset, obviously, with the loss of 1824 with the corrupt bargain, and he wants to call for this direct election. And we're seeing this come back right now because a lot of people were upset because President Trump won, and obviously when President Bush won in 2000, that the Electoral College and the popular vote were not the same. And so this is a big question. Do you think that we should be able to trust our people now to make better decisions than the Romans were able to 2,000 years ago? Do you think it is better for us to choose our representative, our president, by choosing our ballots straight popular vote? Or do you think the founding fathers were correct in trying to make sure that each individual state still had some say? And again, this is the big reason why, one of the big reasons why the Republic fell, is because the people lost their faith in their government, and the government lost faith in its people.